what's up? What's going on, everybody? So today we're going to be talking about Married at First Sight. And this episode was definitely a headbanger, okay? I don't know what a headbanger is, but it's a headbanger. I guess it makes you want to bang your freaking head because it was so freaking crazy. So we see production starting off talking to Chris. So I'm sitting here like, what is going on? Like, they seem like something was a secret. He didn't want to tell her. They're like, just tell her. So I'm like, yeah, it's about to get crazy real soon. So as we know, all the couples, they're on their honeymoon. And let's talk about Ryan and Clara first. So Ryan and Clara, they seem to be having like a pretty good connection. She kind of reminds me of like just like a fun person. She seems like she's really caring. She's just real, for the most part, chill. But of course, you know, people have the other side as well. So we're seeing the good parts of her right now. She is a flight attendant, so she doesn't really have a set schedule. It's kind of like go here, go there, go everywhere, as opposed to him. He's like that routine person. I kind of feel like her and Ryan kind of remind me of, actually most of the couples are kind of similar, where one person has the routine and then the other person is more so free, carefree, does whatever they want. You know, like Eric and Virginia, he's more like, you know, he has this, he knows what he wants in life. He knows his direction, which we'll get into more. And Virginia's just like, woo, like just carefree and just fun loving and all that stuff. And same thing with Haley and Jacob. He's more so like, okay, I eat this, I do this, I go to the gym every day, like, as opposed to Haley, who's just like, oh, I want to travel the world, I want to be excited, I want to be stimulated, you know what I mean? So anyways, so that part can definitely, you know, I feel like that might be a little bit of a problem for them in the future, because he even kind of said, like, at one point that she was more, well, they were talking about, like, what is, like, kind of wrong with her or whatever, and she said that she's, like, kind of messy, and she's bad at doing the dishes. So for him, he said that the thing with him is that he doesn't like folding clothes. So she was like, you know what, let's compromise, and I'll fold the clothes and you just put them in the wash and you wash them, you know? So I mean, if they're able to work out things like that, then I feel like that would be a pretty good, you know, a pretty good match. Because, you know, it's good to have a partner that can do the things that you lack. Like, I'm not the person that likes to clean and stuff all the time. But I do, especially when it gets overwhelming. I get like in a hissy fit, but I don't do it consistently. But my partner, he's the type to, like, you know, want to do all that stuff. And he's a little more like, I'm really like, I like things a certain way, but his way of doing it just looks a little bit neater. But for me, it's like, I know where things go. I like them with a certain color. I like things to be in like size order for certain things. Like, so I know what I'm doing, even though it may not be aesthetically pleasing to the eyes at all time. But I always have a method to my madness, you know? So they had a nice time. They went out to see like dolphins, and they were exploring the animals, and that's what she wants. She wants somebody to be able to do that with her. So they did get a little deeper later on, and they brought up the topic of church, and, you know, if he would want his children to be in church all the time. He said, yeah, that's something that he's really adamant about. But for her, she said she more so would want her children to be, you know, able to tell her almost like pretty much anything. I feel like she kind of reminds me of myself when she said those things, because that's the type of parent I am. I give them the opportunity to talk to me, to tell me what's going on in their lives without like being super judgy. Of course, I'm still a parent, so I'm gonna give you my little, okay, you shouldn't be doing this and this, but I don't go so crazy unless it's something real bad or you didn't tell me. That's even worse. So, you know, if you were to be a certain way, you know, your sexual orientation or whatever, I'm not gonna, oh no, you can't do that, I'm gonna disown you. Like, I personally would never do that. So I feel like she's the same way as far as that. And I don't force like church or religion or anything like that onto my kids. Like, that's something that I wasn't really forced to do it because I actually enjoyed going. And I actually used to get up and go with my cousin, you know, without my parents or anything having to tell me anything. So, I mean, for me, it wasn't like forced onto me. But if it was, like, I still wouldn't, like, try to force it onto my kids. But for him, he grew up in, like, church. Like, his mother and his father's ministers. So it's like, okay, you know, that's why it's so important to him. It's instilled in him. So they would definitely have to talk a lot more about that if she was expecting, or like she said, she's open to it. She's not opposed to it. But he seemed stifled by her statement a little bit. Like the way he gulped, he was like, next up, let's talk about Virginia and Eric. So, I mean, I wouldn't say she's materialistic, but she does care about her looks. And she seemed like she's a hot gal, you know, like one of those girls that, you know, everything has to be done. Because that's the vibe she was giving me. Like, she was curling her hair to go to the pool. Like, dude, what? It's like she's trying to find ways to be late to go somewhere. It's like she said she literally is late, like, everywhere she goes. And we're starting to see that pattern even when she was, like, on, you know, while she's on the show. And, you know, he's getting used to it. He's like, you know, I would have to tell you something a couple hours in advance if we're going somewhere from what I'm seeing now. You know, he was kind of like, why do you have to do this to go to the pool? You know, put on makeup and all these things if you're getting in the water. She's like, yeah, but I'm not getting my hair wet and this and that. And so, yeah, she definitely seems to be one of those people that take a long time for everything. She tells him that she's pretty much late every day for work. And he's like, they still have you? Like, what the hell? I mean, after saying that, unless your boss is a chump, I don't think they would want to have you anymore. I mean, you just kind of put it out there that they let you do whatever you want to do. And if you're the only one doing whatever you want to do, I'm pretty sure the other employees are going to get pretty pissed off about that. So hopefully it's like either a small company or everybody just does whatever the hell they want to do. But I know if I was like somebody's supervisor and they say that and they're kind of bragging about it as though, you know, I'm some pushover and I just let you do what you want in the company, yeah, you're probably going to start getting some write-ups, you know, just because I'm a bitter bee, okay? So, yeah, and he was like, you know, if that was him, he would never be able to do that because he was like, if that was him, like everybody's flights would be delayed. Nothing would go on time. Like he couldn't imagine being that way, you know? So I do see like she definitely, like we said in a previous episode we talked about, she's definitely a drinker, okay? Like she drink like a fish. That's all we just say. She drank like a shot, another drink, like she's trying to get him to drink. He's just like, no, just a little bit, you know, like he doesn't want to drink that much. And plus, as you get older, drinking in my 20s is different from drinking now that I'm 30, because it's like now you feel it, you know, you feel it all up in your bones. The next day is just like you need like 5 days to recover. It's not the same. Before I used to party hard every single night. Well, not every single night. I'm definitely exaggerating, but you get the point. Like exaggerating for a whole weekend. I mean, exaggerating. Partying for like a whole weekend. You know, drinking like a fish, and then go to work or wherever I gotta go the next day. But, well, actually, I never really partied before work. It used to be like Friday and Saturday. Sunday would be my day to rest or chill out or do whatever. But, yeah, you get the point. Like, I'll be able to just bounce back. Not no more. Now I need a few days. I need to drink some water. I need to, like, relax. I need to lay down. Just recuperate, man. So, he could be in a similar boat where he's just like, nah, I ain't gonna mess myself up. They did have a little bit of a discussion about, like, male friends and things like that. She said that she grew up with 3, 4, or 5 brothers. I forgot how many. But it's not really, like, that's her norm. So she would definitely have a problem with that because she's like, but he's like, I know how guys think. Like, most of them are going to want to, or they've thought about having sex with you. And he's like, you know, at the end of the day, you're a wife now, so you got to think differently. He's like, the only ones that are really acceptable in his book is if the guy is either gay or he is connected to a friend of hers. You know, and we've seen scandals with that. But, you know, those are a little more safe, on the safe side. I mean, to be honest, like, I kind of agree with that, because I've seen some shady stuff go down with somebody that be talking about, oh, he's my bestie. Like, a girl talking about, he's my bestie. Yeah. Your bestie be secretly in love with you. What about Love and Basketball? You know, movies like that. They kind of remind you things do happen sometimes. Especially, you know, sometimes they could be the same person giving you advice like, nah, he's not good for you. All the while, they just want you to be, like, having a good time with them. You know, so you just got to be careful. You never know. Even if they're your best friends, sometimes things like that can happen. So I get where he's coming from. But she's used to a certain way of life. But it's like, you got in this to compromise and not just have fun all the time. Like, yeah, it's good to have fun, but there has to be some limits to what you do, and you don't want to hurt yourself. Like, now you got somebody else to think about, you know? Can't be out here getting records and stuff. He's a prestigious man. But yeah, so she was saying in the commentary that she doesn't really respond to jealousy too well, and that's like one thing that she's not really feeling about him. And also the fact that I guess he cleans up after her, but he's just like, he likes things a certain way, like he's kind of like a tidy person. But he does seem like more so like he wants to have kids. But the thing is that, as we know, he travels a lot, so it seems like that could possibly be an issue for her, because she was saying she's seen people like that, and it's almost like you're a single parent because you have to do everything because your spouse is going to be like away all the time. So I don't know how they'll be able to navigate that, but he did say that he would let her go if at any time she feels like she's not able to do it, because he knows how that goes. So, I mean, when he gets serious, like, he gets serious. He gives me, like, daddy vibes. Like, he's definitely ready to be a father. I can tell. Because he could be real fun, and we've seen him be fun in other occasions, but, like, when he gets, like, in that mode, he's in that mode, you know? So, Chris, he was, like, I don't know. He's not as holy as we thought. There was a scene that they showed where he was, there was a scene that they showed where the two of them was eating or whatever, and him and Paige were eating, and he didn't, sorry, I'm putting this on vibrate. He like didn't even pray before he ate, which was weird. And he tells her that he has like some devastating news for her. And she's just like, okay, so what is it? And this, what he did here got me so upset, because for me personally, I loathe, like, I literally hate when people will be like, oh, I gotta tell you something, but I can't tell you right now. Like, my anxiety goes through the roof. So I'm like, why would you do that to her? And he's like, oh, it's something that could affect their marriage. So now, you know, she's all like physically about to get sick, because she's like losing her mind, trying to think like, what could it be? What could it be? So, I mean, and the producers was telling him to like, just let her know, whatever. She was getting to the point where she's like, yo, I'm over it. Like, he's gonna make me leave, you know? And he was telling the producers that he didn't want to let her know what it was at that moment. So the producers, they were trying to like convince him to tell her what it was, but homie was like straight beating around the bush, like, oh, you know, this is rough, like, I don't know how you're gonna deal with it, I don't want to tell you. Like, I'm like, he was just getting on my nerves with that one. So when they go back to the room, she confronts him like, what's up? Can you just tell me what it is? She's like, how can you tell everyone else except your wife something that can affect our relationship? So then he's like, I just don't want to tell you. So then finally he takes her into the bathroom, turns on the water, the shower, and then he's like whispering. He tells her to turn off her mic. I'm like, like, yo, homie is acting like he's 5 years old. I cannot deal with this dude. Like, he is the most annoying person that I have seen since I've been watching Married at First Sight. Like, and I've met some that I didn't really agree with, but he is like, this one is taking the cake. I would be surprised if the two of them stay together. Like, yo, he is real annoying. And so now they go, like I said, after that, you know, he tells her whatever, and they come out the bathroom, and, well, he came out first, and he's like, yeah, I told her. So then when she comes out, she's just like, I don't even know what I'm doing from here. Like, I don't know what I'm going to do. You know, so at that moment, we knew, like, okay, this was pretty bad. Moving on to Brianna and Vincent, they're really vibing, really nice. She helped him get, like, comfortable with his grandmother and everything that was going on. So he really took that at heart, that she really gave him that love that he really needed. You know what I mean? And that comfort and somebody to hold him down. So they did end up doing the nasty, from what I heard when they was talking together. They did talk about, like, where would they want to move after everything? Would it be like a townhouse or a condo or an apartment or a high-rise? And he was like, I think he had said a townhouse. So she was like, what if I wanted to move to a high-rise? And he was like, okay, so this is the bossy part that they were talking about. But he seems like at this moment, like, he's okay with it, kind of. But yeah, and you know what? I knew he had that little Latin, that little Hispanic Bronx vibe, like where he was talking about him. I'm like, dang, he kind of sounded like he's from New York or something. Comes to find out, he said that he used to stay with his grandmother in the Bronx. So it definitely makes sense, Papi. It definitely makes sense for real. So Haley and Jacob, let's talk about them. I mean, to be honest, they're kind of boring to me. I don't know, like, they don't give me that, like, he just says, like, such weird, cringy things. But it's nothing, like, too distinct about them. He likes going to the gym. She does fitness, but mainly yoga. He likes raw onions, and she was just, like, not with it. But, like, the corny jokes was just, like, it was the corny jokes for me. Like, I was just like, dude, what are you doing? They did have a nice little dinner, like, later on. It was by the reef. You got to see the nice little water and stuff. I would definitely love something like that. Like, I was loving the water and the vibes that they had. Where did they go again? I forgot what, oh yeah, they went to Vegas. I'm like, maybe I need to go there and sit by the water and eat some food. But yeah, at least they had a nice time. They did seem to connect at that time when they was together. Later on, Paige went to go see Brianna to kind of, I guess, possibly get some help on the situation that she had. These are, like, your friends, you know? Like, you're forced to like these people, whether you like them or not, at the end of the day, because you're going to be seeing them for the duration of this thing. Which, I mean, it's pretty cool, because they all can relate to them. If you tell your friends, and maybe they can't even talk to their friends like that, maybe they sign an NDA or something, but if you tell your friends things like this, it's like, leave him. Like, how, you know, like, they're not going to be able to relate. They're going to tell you leave right away, you know, like, what are you doing, girl? And plus, like, they probably can't really tell. I don't know if they sound like I said, an NDA or something where they can't really say things from the show to their friends until after filming is done. I wouldn't be surprised if that's something. But, yeah, it's crazy, y'all. So yeah, she talks to her and she tells her, like, she doesn't really know if she can continue, and that she just found out that Chris's ex is pregnant. So that's where the real bomb was dropped, where all of us found out what really, really was going down. And she was like that she's not okay with this. She, you know, she feels like certain things aren't adding up. He said that he wasn't, like, they broke up in February, but yet, like, how is it all happening? So yeah, crazy, y'all. So she isn't really sure at this point what she wanted to do. She was just saying, like, how this is, like, super challenging for her, and all this is happening in literally just 4 days. So it's definitely a lot to take in. Brianna tells her to, even though it may sound selfish, she got to think about herself and about how she kind of wants her life to go, you know? And I definitely agree with her. Without imposing her opinions and things like that, she was able to give her some pretty good advice. See, now, me and my friends, like, if I was on the show, I'd probably say something, you know, something kind of, you know, something like that, where it's like, I'm not leaning left, I'm not leaning right, I'm kind of like in the middle, kind of neutral. But if it's my real friends, girl, nah, this dude is playing games with you. I don't think you need to be with him. I really think you need to sit down and think about what you want to do, because, like, that's a whole baby that you got to think about. And at the end of the day, regardless of what he says, a child is always going to come first. Being a stepmother, you know, I definitely know as well that there are things, like, his child is going to always have to come first. And you have to be okay with that. You have to be okay with whatever agreements they come up with if they come up with a order, what is that thing called? You know, like a visitation order. Now you have to go with that. You know, you never know what's going to be in there. And now you also have to be okay with whatever child support agreement they have to come up with now. So it's a lot to definitely think about. So yeah, Chris talks to Vincent and tells him about everything and what he told Paige. And he's like, you know, what did she say? He was like, well, he hasn't seen her since he told her, so he doesn't really know how things are going. But he did tell her that, that he broke up with his ex in May, but the last time that they actually had sex was back in 6 weeks ago. But the funny thing is, I'm pretty sure I remember Paige saying that he broke it off in February. So, you know, right there, the story's not adding up, because May comes after February. So, like, how does that even make any sense? And I guess her uncle or something had passed away. So even though they wasn't together, they ended up, like, doing the do or whatever. So, yeah. He pretty much kind of exaggerated the truth on this situation, I think. So, yeah. He asked him if he would think about going back to his ex to have, like, the whole family situation. And he pretty much kind of said, like, well, I'm with Paige, so, you know, like, I have other obligations, so let's not even talk about that. Like, you know, kind of like answering without answering. So you're pretty much saying if you wasn't in this situation, you would go back with her to have this little happy family. You know, definitely scary situation. And she definitely got a bad one from the batch with this one. Like, yo, throw him back into the bed. throw him back. I don't want this one. Give me a new one. Yo. So Vincent reveals that, well, he was talking to his girl or whatever. He told her that that the girl's 6 weeks pregnant, because at that point, what's her name didn't even know about that yet. Paige, she didn't even know, like, how far along the girl was, I don't think. So when they was discussing the situation, they both was like, yo, if that was me, I'd have been out, because this is way too much for something that you've been in for only a couple of days. Like, this is a big decision. I definitely agree. Like I said earlier, like, this is a lot to take in. So Vincent, you know, he's pretty much like the romantic type, you know, suave. And, you know, that's where, like, they went on, like, this nice date. They were, like, wiggling each other's toes and stuff. I feel like right now they're really in, like, a really good place. Like, they seem the most, like, lovey-dovey out of all of them. Out of all of the relationships. Like, they seem like that, you know, like that dream. But we'll see how that goes. Especially when they move in together. Because come see me and come live with me is two different things, as they just say. So when Chris and Paige are back together for dinner, she had on, like, a nice black dress, almost like it's the death of the relationship type of thing. That's what I was thinking in my head. But he was like, you never really gave me any feedback after I told you everything. So he did tell her, you know, the girl's 6 weeks pregnant, and he said that, you know, he pretty much told her, like, okay, they got together when he wasn't together, when they weren't together. So, yeah, it's one of those things. It's one of those hookups. But in my head, that's another thing, too. Like, you literally just had sex with her 6 weeks ago. That's literally, what, like 2 months? What, 4 and 4 is 8? 6 weeks? 4, 5, 6? That's a month and a half. That is way too close. Like, nah. That means you still, like, got that old thing. Like, nah, that's way too close. I couldn't do it. I couldn't. That's a lot. I just did the math, and I'm like, wait. A month and a half? Really? Not even a full 2 months. So, yeah. So what else? So, yeah, he apologized to Paige for, you know, the 2 big hits that she got, pretty much saying he wasn't attracted to her. And then, now doing this, but he's like, he wants to still continue with the process. So, she said that she needs to know that they feel like they're on the same page. If they're not on the same page, then they need to just be done with it. I'm like, girl, really? I know your name is Paige, but really, Paige, you really doing this? So yeah, she says, you know, they can possibly work through this, but it definitely is a lot for her. And he ends up saying, like, it doesn't matter if she's pregnant, like, Paige is his wife, and it's God first, then his wife, then everything else. And I'm just like, really? Like, you putting somebody that you just met on the top of the pedestal that you're not even attracted to. Then later on, Mr. Sweet Talker, Mr. Romance comes. This is why, yo, he's probably like a narcissist. I swear, this dude is like a narcissist, and he just, because a lot of people, initially, they won't be able to realize that you're a narcissist unless they're able to, like, see you in different aspects. So, like, I've seen narcissists where you would think they're the most humanitarian person. You would think they're just, like, the nicest person in the world until you actually experience them romantically, or you experience them for a long amount of time, because then or you oppose things that they do. That's when you see the real true them. So he probably just sweet talks his way with these experts. You know, I think they need a little more training, because homie is not it. So anyways, he flatters her and starts telling her, like, how she was beautiful, and she looks great in her dress, and he's attracted to her now. Like, so you just attracted to her because you got somebody else pregnant? Like, so all of a sudden she's magically attracted to you? I just felt like I just wasn't with it. Like, I just felt like he was bullshitting to the fullest, to the max, okay? He said, yeah, so that's how I was feeling about that when he said that. So later on, like, all the couples, they end up meeting, and Chris tells the group what's going on with him, and Clara's like that, you know, she didn't say it to him, but in her little commentary, she's like, I would have been out, like, you know, and she's like, hopefully this is what God has planned for her, you know. And I was like, kind of like, dang, like, Paige keeps on saying, like, well, you know, this is God's will and stuff like that, and I'm like, girl, you think God wants you to suffer like this? Like, this is what you feel you need? Like, what have you done in your life that this is what you feel you need? And she even mentioned that she was with somebody before that, you know, their kid always came first, and she didn't want to have to be in something like that again. That's why she didn't really feel like she wanted somebody who had a child. You know, she was like damn near the stepmother, but she had to, like, eventually take a step back or whatever. While all of them was talking and stuff, he was like looking all weird, and then he says that he felt like everyone was supporting Paige, but nobody was supporting them as a couple. And I'm like, what? Like, why do you need the spotlight to be on you? Paige is the one that has to, like, you're good regardless. Like, you're going to have a baby. You could possibly even go back to somebody else. Like, she just gave up probably her last name. She just gave up, like, everything to be with you. And now you have, I don't want to say options, but you have, like, a whole family. She only has you at this point. Of course, she has her people. But you know what I'm saying? Like, just think of it in a marriage type of aspect. So, like, I felt like that was so selfish of him to say. And then he just, like, kind of walks off. And, then once again, this boy is crying, talking about in his commentary that he was crying because he felt like he's stuck in this. So right there, that shows you how he really feels. Like, he feels like he's stuck with her, but yet he was saying how he wants to be with her and he's like in this for real and he wants to see where this goes and blah, 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 blah. But yet in another light, in another day, in a commentary, when he looks back at it, he's talking about he was crying because he felt like he was stuck in it, and also because he has a baby on the way. And I'm just like, this guy is so terrible. This guy is so terrible. And Virginia and Eric, they arrived late to the little get-together that they was all having, a couples soiree. And they come in looking all lovey-dovey and happy. I was like, girl, what you done slipped this man? He was looking real happy and stuff. I felt like he was kind of putting on a show a little bit. He's like, yo, we have the best relationship. He's like, we like literally never having problems, never argue. I feel like he's one of those people that in front of the world or in front of your friends, you would think like, yo, I'm couples goals, hashtag relationship goals, you know, hashtag white love, you know what I mean? Like, you would say all these things, but in real life, like, it's turmoil going down because, I mean, they did have some, they're doing okay, but they did have some real red flags that came up where they got a little serious and she was feeling some type of way with certain things. And facial expressions and body language tell you so much. And both of them, you could see it in the body language when they had certain discussions where they were like, you know, like they were just like no laughter, just like real serious. Well, with her, she kind of had like a little bit of laughter when he was like talking about the jealousy thing. But I felt like she kind of made it seem like she wasn't too upset. But like even in the commentary, she was like, no. You know, like, I don't play that. Like, that's not okay with me. But yeah, so Eric eventually asks Chris like how he's doing and stuff like that. So Chris ends up telling them, like, he's like, I don't really owe anybody an explanation, but, you know, he lets them know what it was. And then Virginia's ass says, oh, it's for you, sure it's yours. Like, dang. He's like, yeah, like, that was a trigger number one for him. And, like, they were, like, saying other, like, weird things, like, that were kind of insensitive to the situation, but it was kind of funny for reality TV. Like, I just felt like they were, like, kind of doing too much. It's like they came to be the agitators or the irritators, like, just to spark his ass up. And I think they were, like, even touching him at one point, like, don't worry, man. But then Eric comes talking about, you gotta focus on her right there. That's what you got. If you want to keep her. I'm like, yo, dude, you acting like you really know him. Like, you don't really know him. He's not your real friend. Like, you know, somebody come to me on some, you gotta, whoa, pipe down. Like, bruh, what are you doing? I don't even know you like that. Like, I don't think that you should. I'm just telling you this because they told me on this show that I have to talk to you guys. Like, in the real world, I probably wouldn't even talk to you. You know, like, I would hurt somebody's feelings real quick, especially if I'm in my feelings. Don't do that. But, yeah, they were kind of doing the most. And he was like, yo, you'll be a lot more respectful if you just leave it alone and just let us handle it. And I was like, uh-oh, things is getting kind of intense right now. So, yeah, I feel like I think that in the next episode or whatever episode they showed the coming attractions for, it looked like he's going to have issues with him once again. So I guess those are the two that are going to clash. You know who he kind of reminds me of? Oh my gosh, there was that guy, and I can't remember their names. There was that black dude that he was with that girl, that she was like a social media person. She was also, was she in healthcare? I think she was in healthcare or something like that as far as her job. That dude had a lot of aggression. I remember him. I feel like he's kind of giving me vibes like him. Remember he wanted to fight production and stuff like that? Like, he was about it. He even left and went, talking about he had to go to work, had them drive him. Like, he's giving me him vibes, but like a little more annoying and a little more narcissistic. That dude, he just was like over it. But I feel like at times he did have reasons as to why he acted that way, because there was certain things she did that was kind of shady. With Paige, she hasn't done anything to old boy for what we've seen. So, and I bet you he's gonna come up eventually if they break up with the sob story, like, yo, she did this to me, blah blah blah. It's crazy, y'all.